So in this session, first of all, we will finish the previous questions that we haven't done it. The question about decision making with the constraint resources or limiting factors. We finished only part A because that question has three parts. Part A is about that which product we should produce at first using the limiting factors, which is uh, limited hours. All right. And in part B, the question is about that what if we produce the additional product, right? So let me read that part for you. So can you see can you see that? Can you read it? Yes or no? Can you see your assignments here?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So part B is about the marketing director of company is concerned about concerned at the company's inability to meet the quantity demanded by its customer. All right. So you know that from part A, we came to know that two products we haven't meet the requirements of the two products, right? Because our labor hours are are 1000. So using 1000 we had two products, right, that we haven't done it, means we haven't meet the demand for those products quantity, right? One consideration is to overcome this is to increase the number of hours worked using the existing machinery by the working overtime. So which means companies say that in order to meet the demand of those two products, company says that, okay, let's increase the number of hours, right? So uh, if company will do that, then such overtime would be paid at a premium of 50% above normal labor rate. So whatever labor rate we have, which is 4, 50% of 4 plus and variable overhead cost would be expected to increase in proportion to labor cost, right? So which means we're gonna use it the variable cost, right? But again, is in the proportion of the labor cost. So this is basically the thing that we're gonna do in part B uh, for using your assignments information, right? So I give a quick glance over that what we have done in the previous lecture, or in the previous, which is part A. So from part A, we came to know that two products we haven't meet the demand, right? Like if you look at your part A, we did it, the rank was C, B, D, and A. All right. So we did it full. We already done it full, which was 250 quantities, right? We use it. For B, it was 180, right? For D, D, as per questions, the demand for D products is 100 units. But due to limited factor, we produce only 92. So which means 8 left. All right. For product A that we did not produce at all. All right. We didn't produce at all because here the 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 demand, I mean the limiting factors are finished. All right. So which means full products we haven't produced it. So still demands need to be met for the product A, which is uh, 200, right? 200. So which means we need to produce still 208 products, and company decided that okay, we can do the overtime. All right, we can do the overtime. So which means for part B, we gonna produce D first, because of course D has a higher ranking compared to A, and then we will produce product A. All right. So let's say we write here product, right? So we will produce it D and A. All right. So D will be 200, right? Oh, sorry. D is 8. D is 8, still need to be produced, and A is 200. All right. Okay. So let me read your questions, what your questions is. Okay. So now what we're gonna do next, we're gonna find out the unit contribution, right? The contribution for product A and product D, right? This is products and that's units. And after units, we're gonna write down unit contribution, contribution. So unit contribution for product A is how much? Can you tell me what is the unit contribution for product A? Quickly say something. Unit contribution, contribution margin per units for product A. How much we calculated in our part A?
16.
Sorry?
16.
16, that's right. Right? 16. And for product A, sorry, product A, for A, this is 16.
For A 16 and D 22.
22. D is 22. Right? Okay. Now, as per your question, it says that if you will produce product D and A, then you're gonna have some kind of additional cost. All right, as per your question, which means, uh, uh, okay, so let me write down. So additional cost, additional cost. Additional cost, it will be for product D, it will be 7. And for product A, it will be 3.5. Right? How we got it? So for here, A, which is, so let me open the questions for you so you can see how we calculate this number. Here. So it says that premium of 50% above normal labor rate. So how much is the labor rate? How much is the labor rate if we talk about product A? How much is the labor rate for product A? Quickly tell me.
4.
4 plus variable overhead cost would be expected to increase in the proportion of labor cost. So what does it mean? Variable overhead increase in the proportion of, so it means it will be 1 hour labor rates. So labor rates is
like for
so it's a $1, 1 pound, 1 pound multiply by 2, right? Expected to 50%. Normal rate is the 4. So 50% of 4 is 2. So let me explain again because I forgot to records the estimation of this number and this number. This is the additional cost. So as per your assignments, as per your questions guidelines, we're gonna estimating the additional cost for product A, all right, which is 50% of labor, and variable cost is in the same proportion, which is of course 50%. Here, same as per your assignment informations for product D. So we got additional cost, which is this and this for both products that we did not produce in your requirements A, right? Once we got the additional, then we're gonna find out the revised contribution margin. So revised contribution margin gonna be contribution margin subtract additional cost, whatever we estimated, right? Which is 7 and 3.5. So revised contribution margin, this minus this, this minus this. So we got revised contribution margin, right? So now we're gonna calculate the net profit, net benefits or net profit. So how much gonna be net benefits? Net profit or net benefits? How much net benefits for D? How much will be for D? Tell me. For D will be 120, all right? And A will be
2,500.
1,500. So the total is 6 to 5. This is the quantitative analysis if we accept the overtime, right? If we accept the overtime, so that's gonna be a quantitative analysis for your requirement B in your question. All right, so if we agree to produce product A and D with the help of overtime, right? So that's all about requirements B, but we haven't finished requirements A and B, especially B, because I show you it in your assignments. It says that here. So we already estimated the quantitative analysis. Quantitative means numerical information we already estimated, right? So it says that critically evaluate this strategy and as management accountant, prepare a discussion documents for the marketing director stating your findings, quantitative, that we already done it here and here, right? And qualitative, some qualitative informations that I will discuss now. So state your findings as to the expected increase in the contribution, if any, and any issues that could arise and would need to be resolved. So which means we have to providing some quantitative and qualitative informations to our managers, right? In order to increase the contribution margin, how we can maximize the contribution margin, right? Okay. So the idea is, of course, we can maximize the contribution margin if we agree to produce product A and D. All right. But besides that, we need to provide some additional evidence beside this quantitative information. This is the quantitative information. Beside this quantitative analysis, we have to give some theoretical justifications that how we can maximize the contribution margin, what steps we have to take it in order to do your meet the requirements. All right. So here we gonna write down something in a report that we have to present to our director. So what we have to do, so of course some quantitative numbers, that profit improve or not improve. So let me write down here. So okay, so we will prepare a report including few points included in these reports. So the first one is a confirmation of profit, right? Profit confirmation. Now, what does it mean, confirmation of improved profit? Confirmation of improved profit means if we will produce the product which has a higher rank. If we will produce those products first, which is C and B, if we will produce these two products, of course, our profit will be increased. We have to tell our marketing director in such way by showing the numbers, right? So marketing directors can understand, right? Second thing that we have to mention, that the contribution margin could be increased if overtime is desirable. Desirable overtime. Desirable overtime means if limiting factors is not our issues, then we can use our workforce in a overtime mode. All right, so which means as a result, if of course if workers are working overtime, we gonna have some additional benefits. That is here. All right, by producing product A and D. That's the meaning of this desire overtime. All right, okay. Besides this desire overtime, we have to track some information. We have to track the datas. Track the datas, or we need some kind of market research. With the help of market research, we can understand that whatever demands we have, which is 2000 products, that demand, is it seasonal or is it full for the year? All right, we're gonna track the data, or we're gonna do some market research. With the help of market research, we can find out that whatever is a market demand. So demand is, I guess it's 2000, right? It's 2000, yes. If demand is 2000 units, is it full year? Means all the time is 2000, or this demand is a seasonal. Seasonal means in that particular seasons there is a high demand. It's not throughout the year. Like as for example, Lunar New Year. Lunar New Year, the demand for products is too high. All right. So this is called seasonal demands for just for the particular period, just for the short period. So is it seasonal or is it throughout the year? All right. So we need that kind of market research. With the help of that kind of market research, we can attract our workforce. We can arrange our workers. Probably we don't have to pay them overtime. All right. Okay. Why we need to pay overtime? Why need overtime? The purpose of overtime to meet the demand for the short period of time. All right, then we need the overtime. But if we know that demand is not a seasonal, it's a throughout the year. That means we will arrange our people or worker in such a way that we don't have to ask them to work overtime, because we can arrange their production activities. We can prepare our budget, and as per budget, we can arrange their work schedule. As a result, our additional cost, which may not be increased, like as here. So we can minimize it. We can minimize such kinds of additional cost. All right. But again, we need a market research. By doing so, we can arrange our schedule, and of course, as a result, we can minimize the cost. All right. So that's the ideas behind market research. Fourth point is preferable customer. What does it mean? Preferable customer. Preferable customer means we know that we have a limited uh, factors, which is ours, all right? And the demand is not, I mean, we cannot meet the demand uh, because we have a limiting factors. So what we have to do, of course, we're gonna give the rank to the products, right? No matter we produce product C or D and then A and D, I mean C, B, A, D, whatever ranks we have. So we arrange our order, and on the behalf of that order, we start producing product. You know that we exactly did in your requirements A. But now what does it mean, preferable customers? If we cannot meet the demand for all kinds of customer, we will give preference to those customer in which we have a long relations. We give preference to those customer which are loyal to the company. All right. So the idea is that if you will give preference to the loyal customer, company will be able to maintain its goodwill. Right? Goodwill means market reputations, credibilities. All right. So that's kind of credit worthiness. That's kind of things represent the goodwill of the company. So in order to maintain the goodwill, company has to give the preference to those customer which has been connected with company from really long time. All right. And which doesn't have any default rate. They never default. They always return money back to company on time, something like this. So we give preference to those customers at first because we cannot meet the requirements for all kinds of customers. All right. So that's the ideas behind preferable customers in order to maintain the goodwill. Preference to the customer which are loyal. All right. Has been connected from really long time, right? So that's the ideas behind the reports. In this report, we're gonna mention these things. So all these are the quantitative factors. Of course, it's a combination of quantitative and qualitative both, but you don't have to calculate anything in this report because number you already calculated. So now, how you gonna attempt this part in your exams? When you do when you explain this information, like as first point, confirmation of improved profit. So you write here above. Above means A or A and B. So you can say that as we can see in our requirements A and B, the results of requirements A and B says that yes, profit will be improved if we will produce additional profit. So profit will be increased by 2682, something like this. All right. Same thing, desirable over time. If you will accept to produce additional, company gonna make some profit. We're not gonna have a loss. So we also have evidence, even subtracting additional cost, we're gonna have a profit. Third thing here, you're gonna use some small numbers. If you think calculation is so too much, then you can give a reference by writing above, as we can see above and blah blah blah. All right, and preferable customer points. All right. So this is the way to writing this question. All right, but I can give you a very quick tip. If you wanna make your examiner much more happier, then you can do this question in the form of report. All right, in the form of report. So here, so it's like this is your paper, so you can say that to marketing director, all right? So here is subject of reports is maximize contribution or whatever, what your question says that. if you look at your question, your question says that discussion with documents, marketing directors expected to increase their contribution issues resolved. Right. Increase in contribution. So the subject of this report is increase in contribution. All right, and then you can start here. Dear sir, blah blah blah. After they making some analyses, so being a management accountant, I would like to add some additional points which involve quantitative and qualitative information that help to increase the overall contribution margin of the company. If we will implement such strategies, then company profitability most likely to be involved. So please see the following points. Point 1, point 2, point 3. You make a very short paragraphs. Of course, you don't need to write too much because you have a lack of time, all right, limited time. And then you write paragraph for points 1, 2, 3, 4. And after finish this one, if you have any question, please feel free to reply me. Thank you very much. That's it. So this is very professional way of doing a report. All right. So it's completely your choice. You can simply write report, include blah blah blah, or you use a very professional way of doing the reports. I guess examiner will like this way. Say, oh, this student is really writing in a very corporate manners that normally happen in the organizations. Right. So it's completely your choice how you're gonna do the things. Right. So that's all about this question. All right. So which is here? What is that? So here. So that's all about this point. These requirements finish using above information. All right. Now we move on to the third requirements, which is C, right? So third requirement is where production capacity, which is machine hour, is a limiting factors. That's what we know. Critically explain ways in which management can increase its without having acquire more plants and machinery. All right. So without acquire more plant and machinery, how can we meet the demand with that limiting capacity? All right. So of course, this is more about theoretical questions. All right. How we can meet the demand without increasing the capacity of the machines. All right. So here we're gonna write down some points. All right. So this is C. I guess I'm recording this one. Yes, I'm recording. Okay. So few points we have to consider. All right. So the first point could be improved product design. If we will increase or improve the product design, we can minimize the usage of material, labor, and machines, because product design determine that how many hours worker have to work extra. They have to much more go in very detail. It depends upon the product design. All right. Material, if depends upon the design, depends upon the requirements of the material, maybe more design, more material requirements, less design, less material requirements, maybe more design, maybe need a high quality or high material, right? As a cost increase, right? Same thing, if product design is much more complicated, the requirements of the machine consumption or the usage or utilities of that machines need higher, right? So improve product design so we can minimize the usage of material, labor, and machine. All right. As a result, we do not need extra resources because we are some cutting down in all these kinds of things. All right. Next is improve in production method. Production method could be improved. Machine usage could be improved. All right. So if we gonna make changes in our production method, the way that we are producing product, if we are changing our production method, as a result, our efficiency using existing resources could be increased. Right? I can give you quick ideas about how we gonna point out the points. How we gonna find out the qualitative information here. So quick tip for you is, remember in your variance analysis, you study about the possible causes about efficiencies. So those some points that you have studied in possible causes of some kinds of efficiencies, you can explain here, because here all the things about efficiency, because if your efficiency will increase, we do not need extra resources. If there is a lack of efficiency, lack of supervision, probably we need more resources. If we are wasting resources, we need more resources. All right. If we are wasting resources, our limiting factor will be much more limited. All right. How we can maximize the usage of the limiting factors by doing all these things. And the main idea is the possible causes that's come out from our various analysis. All right. So if we're gonna do that, our output increase using existing resources. So we do not need more resources. Still, that's whatever limited hours we have, machine hours we have, that's more than enough. All right. So these things we can do that. All right. Next one is next point could be worker incentives. If you want their efficiencies increase using a limiting factors, what we have to do? We have to motivate them. We have to encourage them to complete a job within the time period. All right. We have to encourage them that without wasting resources, you maximize the quality of the products. How we can do that? These things could be done through the incentives. All right. So the idea is, look at the labor incentives. The benefits we're gonna give them in order to motivate them, in order to make them more happy. All right. So by doing that, we can use our resources much more efficiently. All right. Next point is a subcontracting. Subcontracting. Or you can say that outsourcing. Now, what does it mean? Outsourcing or subcontracting, all right? It means, of course, we do not have enough resources. We have a limited resources called limiting factor. So how we can meet the demand of the customer with that limiting factors? So one of the effective way to meet the demand for the limiting factor is subcontracting or outsourcing, which means find someone from outside the company, external person can help us to produce product because we cannot meet the demand. So you will hire a contractor, call them subcontractor. You hiring a subcontractor or outsourcing. Outsourcing means taking services from outside the company in order to produce the product. If you will do that, as a result, your capacity will be free up. All right? Your capacity gonna be free up. So which means you're gonna have a extra capacity. So which as a result maximize your efficiency. So by choosing such an outsourcing option, company can meet the demand of the customer even though we have a limited resources. All right. So that things we can do in order to maximize or meet the demand with the limiting resources. Right? So that's all about your C. All right? So your constraint resources is finished. All right? So now ask me a question. Ask me a question if you have in your mind this thing. It's important. Yep. Any other questions? Please ask me if you have.
I just have questions about reference. Uh, the tutor, she had already mentioned about the flexible between the standard and the actual. But I really don't understand about that. The flexible, that's how could I say? So this means it had something called flexible between standard and actual. That's what I don't understand much.
I didn't understand what you mean. Flexible between.
Uh,
What
yeah, there's something called flexible between standard and actual. They when we compare between
you
the
mean overhead? You're talking about overhead?
uh, wait for me.
Teacher, I sent you the questions, the exercise of variance analysis the teacher gave us yesterday through the email. So it's the
Yeah,
exercise
I received your email. Okay, I will have a look and then I will get back to you. Yeah. Is the I understand what you mean before you said that we have to multiply by quantity. Yes, of course, because you have to multiply by quantity because I'm just giving quick ideas, but later in the email I will explain you more. But I can quickly tell you that like as your direct material is a 3 meters at 5 pounds per meter. So you're gonna calculate the cost of material per units, right? So that's why you have to when you are calculating material cost per unit, then you have to multiply by meter, because previously I have this questions before in some kinds of assignments, and students they also having the same question. Now I understand what you mean. uh, can you please provide me a solution for this one? Then I will reply back to you that why we are doing that. Of course you can calculate this question in my way, that the way that I explain you is not going to be much different, I believe. All right, so please provide me the solution.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
then I will explain you that why we are doing this. Uh, Now, can you ask me a question about flexibilities? One boy he asked me a question about flexible or something. Did you find your question?
It is included in the solution from our tutor of this exercise. I will send you now. You will see.
No, no, not this question. I mean, because one boy he asked me actual and
Yes,
standard. Did you
yes,
find it?
yes. I mean that, and I have told to you, and have just told to you, the problem include in this solution. So you could take a look and then give me the email.
Yeah. Okay. Please send me
Yes.
email as well. All right. And you can explain and you can
Solution. No.
explain your question again, so I can read your question and then I can understand what are you exactly asking me, because until now
Yes.
I really didn't get your question. So please write down your
I
question.
mean, the problem here include in the solution I had just sent to you. So you could take a look and then give leave us a like the email to explain that.
Only Han send me email.
Yes, yes.
This
The
one.
problem include that.
Okay, I will see.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, please ask me regarding the two calculation based questions. If you do not have any question, then we move on to the discussion based. Did you, by the way, did you watch the video for managing working capital?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Is it make sense or doesn't make any sense? The discussion based that we did it, working capital, elements of working capital and elaboration of the opportunity cost of that elements. If we have a high elements of working capital, if we have high, what are the cost, low, what are the cost, and the management system of each element. So we have total 5 elements, but in 5 elements I didn't explain about a bank overdraft because we do not have any kinds of management system for bank overdraft, right? But we have 4 elements. For your current assets, we have inventory, we have cash, and we have account receivable. And for current liability, we have accounts payable and bank overdraft. So for all these 4 elements, we focus on uh, high or low. If these elements is high, what are the opportunity cost? Low, what are the opportunity cost, and how we manage this particular elements. So this is your discussion based question. All right. So is it make any sense for you when you watch the video?
Yes. So,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and anything you want me to explain about managing working capital, please tell me. I'm happy to explain now. If anything is unclear for you for this
yes,
discussion.
it's possible. Yes, it's
Sorry?
possible because I have stopped of this. So could you explain again about that?
Explain about the
The
working capital.
much, yes.
Okay. I give you very quick ideas first, and then I will write down this working capital. All right. So the ideas of the working capital is that, now what is the meaning of working capital? Working capital is the money or amount of money that we need for day-to-day business activity. All right. So keep in your mind, working capital is not a share capital. All right. Is not a share capital. All right. Working capital, it comes through the current assets, cash inflow of current assets, and cash outflow of current liability. When you combine this operating cycle, which is cash in through the assets and cash out through the current liability, this is called the working capital. All right. So you can see the name working capital. Working means in order to work, in order to run our business, we need a regular money, day-to-day money. All right. And that day-to-day money, it's come from uh, current assets. All right. Day-to-day money, daily money in and out, in because of current assets options, right? And out because of current liability. And it's really important to manage, right? If we're not gonna manage, we will run out of money. We run out of cash. We run out of liquidity. That's why it's very important for organizations to manage, right? In order to understand manage, we have to use this working capital in very smart way. All right. So I can give you a quick example. We should not keep too much cash, or we should not keep too less cash. All right. If you keep too high cash, holding cash does not give you return. Investing cash, investing money gives you return. So if you hold too much cash, this is not the smart way of investment, smart way of using regular cash. So you invest it, you have a return, right? If you do not hold cash, still not smart way too, because we need cash for many purposes. We need cash for regular expenses. It could be a salary, it could be electricity bills, it could be a rent, right? This could be anything. So that's why we should keep some minimum cash. We should not invest all kinds of cash. This is a quick example of your way of arranging the cash. If you keep it too high, which is not good. If you keep it too low, which is not good too. Same like as cash, some other current assets or some other elements of current assets or working capital have the same situation. All right. So we have to find the smart way to manage it. So we're gonna implement some management system for each and every elements. All right. For example, inventory. How we gonna manage inventory? By applying some models. So one of the example of model is an EOQ, economic order quantity. Another model of inventory management is a uh, some kinds of inventory techniques. We call it pull technique, just in time. All right. So that's kind of methods we can apply it in order to manage enough inventory. So when we there is a demand in a market, we have enough inventory, but we don't not gonna hold it too much inventory because it lead to the cash, right? Because this is just an example, right? So I explain you now some important elements related to working capital. Right. So working capital. Working capital is current asset minus current liability, right? What is current assets? Current asset is any kinds of assets that we can quickly convert into cash in very short period of time without losing its significant value. And current liability, any kind of liability which is fall due within a year, that's called the current liability, right? So the elements of course, in current assets, we have some other kinds of elements as well, like as prepaid expense. That is your current assets. But again, prepaid expense is not part of operating cycle. It does not help us to generate cash. All right. So in current assets, we're not gonna write down all kinds of assets. We're gonna write down on assets that contribute in our regular cash activity. Regular cash activity, which is contributed in cash in, all right? We're gonna write down those elements. But prepaid expense is not like that, all right? But again, prepaid expense is your current asset, but is not the components or elements of working capital or current asset when we calculate working capital, all right? So now, current assets, we have cash, we have inventory, and we have accounts receivable. All right. So again, as I said, in all these three elements, we're gonna find out three things: high, low, and manage. All right. If all these elements are high, what is the cost of holding high elements? What is the cost if you hold it low? In other words, what are the disadvantages? In simple words, what are the disadvantages of holding high elements? What are the disadvantages if you hold it very low? Low cash, what are the disadvantages? If you keep inventory very low, what are the disadvantages? If you keep account receivable very low means you majority of sales comes through the cash sales. What are the disadvantages? All right. Same thing, high. What are the disadvantages of holding high cash? All right. What are the disadvantages of keeping high inventory? If you keep high inventory, no demand in the markets. As a result, your unnecessary cost will increase. All right. So, which is not good. If your account receivable are extremely high, then I would say that probability of bad debts could be increased. All right. As a result, majority of money we cannot collect from our customer. If you're selling everybody on credit, if majority of customer default, your majority of sales not recoverable, no cash, sign of bankruptcy. All right. So that's the problem of, there is a problem for keeping high or low. So how can we manage these things? Like as for example, if you have a look cash, how do we manage our cash? We can manage our cash with the help of operating cycle. With the help of operating cycles, so operating cycle is a combination of three things. Inventory turnover period means how frequently our inventory turnover is increasing, means how frequently we are selling our inventory, which is important, right? Second thing, account receivable turnover. So account receivable turnover period or account receivable collection period, which means how long account receivable are taking to return our money back. Are they paying money on time or not on time? That kinds of that's kind of things we can estimate it. So inventory turnover plus account receivable turnover subtract accounts payable payments period, which means how fast or how often we have to return money back to our supplier. Are we paying on time or not? So as a result, so inventory plus account receivable collection period subtract inventory turnover is a operating cycle. With the help of operating cycles, we can track our cash in and cash out, right? Second things could be a cash budgets. So we can prepare cash budgets in advance. Of course, cash budget is a forecasting. So we can understand in future what are the factors that lead to the cash receipts, right? And what factors lead to the cash outs. We call it cash payments. So cash receipts, cash payments, whatever is left, that's called a closing balance of cash. Means at the end of the period, that much cash we have left. If closing balance is too much, what we will do, we invest. So that's called the management. All right. If closing balance is very less or maybe negative closing balance, so we find the way to increase cash receipts or decrease cash payments in future, because we are making a plan. We can, it's not an actual number, it's a plan. In order to implement it, we can make some changes. All right. And the third one is a widely use of bank overdraft. If you use bank overdraft in a very wise way, then it's better, because as I give example in the video, that bank overdraft has a time period to return money back to the bank, right? But that time period is very short. All right. So what we have to do, so make sure you return all money back to the bank before the time period, then you don't have to pay any interest. As a result, we got a cash, but we are not paying any interest. So there is no any cost of borrowing money. It's completely free of cost. So that's kind of method we can implement it. All right. This is just my example. If you think you have some other way, you can write it. But as far as I know, 2 to 3 methods are enough, because you have to write down many points. All right. So 2 or 3 points are enough. All right. Don't spend too much. So try to make balance among all the elements. All right. Next is the management for inventory. How we can management, like as I already explained you, economic order quantity. With the help of economic order quantity, we can find the exact number of quantity we should buy. If you buy more than that, your holding cost will increase. If you buy less than that, your ordering cost will increase. In order to make balance, we will accumulate EOQ points, economic order quantity. That points we should, that number of quantity we should order when we need to buy inventory. This is called model to manage the inventory. Another method is just in time, all right? Which means we should not buy inventory too much, or we shouldn't buy inventory in a large quantity, even supplier is giving you discounts, right? Before you buying inventory, make sure you look at the demand in the markets. If you have a high demand in the markets, then of course you can buy a large quantity of uh, of material. Otherwise, you should not buy. All right. So that's kind of things. Like as for example, mm, uh, in the it depends, like a seasonal demands, that demands only increase in particular season. So before that season starts, people start buying a lot of material. Like as you can see the supermarkets before Lunar New Year, at the end of December or in the beginning of January, you can see there are lots of inventories in the supermarket. Sometimes they don't have enough place to keep inventory on the shelf. So they start keeping that inventory in a box. Why? Because they know that seasonal demand's going to increase. So that's why they are buying a large quantity of inventory, even though they don't have a much place to store it, but still they are buying. All right. So that's kind of things they can, but it's not always happen in the supermarkets. When Lunar New Year is finished, then maybe they will back to the normal quantity that's only available on the shelf. All right. So that's kind of things it's happened. Another way to manage inventory is your estimating the ratio. We can also calculate the ratios. With the help of ratio, we can understand, because that ratio is the inventory turnover, how fast inventory is finishing from the store department. So with the help of inventory turnover, we can see that how fast raw material is using, closing balance of raw material is very less, closing balance of work process very less, and closing balance of finished good also very less, right? So if it's very less closing balance, so which means we are using inventory very good. We are using inventory very good, so there is a high demand in our inventory, so we should buy, we should order. So this is the smart way of managing by looking at the ratio. But if the closing balance is too high closing balance of raw material, we should not buy raw material. Closing balance of work in process too much, so we should not start producing, just keep raw material. If there is a high closing balance of finished goods, then we should stop producing product because we cannot sell it. All right. So these kind of arrangements or management, we can do that by applying a different kinds of matters. That's the purpose of ratio analysis, right? And another points could be uh, order level. At what level we should, so we call it ordering points. So we have to determine that when your inventory reach at that particular level, then we should order. We should not order before that. If you order before that, again, you're gonna have a problem of storing cost. All right. So make sure you have enough space in your store department. Then we should order another quantity of material. This is the one another way to manage the inventory. Right. How we manage accounts receivable. Uh, so first of all, you have to make a policy for bad debts. All right. So which means you can determine that to which kinds of people you're gonna sell your products, because maybe a majority of customers, they are bankrupts, so they become bad debts. So maybe you're not gonna sell most of product on credit. So second method or way to manage your account receivable is your track your account receivable. You track them. You keep checking their balance, keep checking their payment system and so on. With the help of that things, we can manage our account receivable. And another one could be account receivable collection period. With the help of account receivable collection period, we can understand how frequently your account receivable are giving you money back. So by looking at, we can also manage that thing. Same thing management, same thing about accounts payable. There is a cost of high accounts payable, all right, which means our account payable too high. So means we are borrowing raw material too much, all right? Or in other words, we are not making them payments on time. So that's why account payable are too high. So there is a cost, all right? What are the reasons? Maybe we're running out of cash. Our business financial position is not really good, right? Now, what are the costs if we keep less accounts payable, all right? What are the costs? So one of the important costs is accounts payable. Another name of accounts payable is a trade credit. Trade credit means you are purchasing material without paying anything. All right. But normally you must have money to buy raw material. If you don't have money, we borrow from bank. If you borrow from bank, you have to pay interest. But if you buy material, if your supplier is agreed to supply you material without paying any money, so what does it mean? It means you are saving kinds of interest. that that is an opportunity cost, that could be opportunity cost of purchasing raw material, borrow from bank to buy raw material. All right. So that's the problem of high and low accounts payable. And how can we manage? First of all, we can manage using the accounts payable payments period. Are we making payments to accounts payable on time or not, or how frequently we are successful, or how frequently we are making a payments to supplier on time. And second one could be establish a policy. So you're gonna make a policy that um, which kinds of supplier we should choose to purchase raw material, because some kinds of supplier, they are less likely um, to supply material on credit. All right, but we need on credit. But make sure you cannot purchase very a large quantity, because you have to look first, do I have enough cash in future in order to make a payments to supplier on time or not. So that's kind of policy we can make in the organization. That's the ideas behind your discussion based uh, question, right? I hope you get the points of working capital of um, different current assets, and I mean working capital elements which come from the current assets and the current liability. All right. So let me have a look requirements of this discussion based question. Okay, so I want to show you your requirements for your question, right? Your discussion based question here. Here. So that is your third question. All right. Can you see that? Question 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So question 3 is about here. Wait. Question 3 is about working capital. All right. So in working capital, the question is broken down into 2 sections to test the student depth understanding of the whole. So part A, which is relate to the management of elements that make up working capital requirements. So this is your working capital requirements. So like current assets, current liability, and so on, right? And part B is about the option for efficient control of one of those elements. Efficient control, how we can make them control means their management system. All right. So what you can do, my suggestion is for part A. In part A, you can explain about the cost of keeping high and low. And in part B, relate to the option for efficient control of one of these. How we can efficient control, how we can manage them. So part B is about manage. All right. So part A, right? Your elements, right? Elements if you keep it high or low, all right? Cost of keeping high and cost of keeping low. And how you gonna manage is manage means efficient way to control it. That's the meaning of management, all right? So that is your part B, management system for each of every uh, every elements, all right? So that's the ideas behind this one. So what you can do when you explain about these elements like as cash, all right? So you can say part A, all right, and part B for cash. Next is inventory, part A, part B. Or part A, cash, inventory, account receivable, you finish part A, and part B, cash, inventory, account receivable, finish part B. Or cash, part AB, inventory, part AB, account receivable, part AB, is completely your choice. All right. If you have a time, then you can draw a diagram. All right. I don't know you can see that or not, but how can I show you? Can you? You can't see that. Let me try to show you the diagram that normally I draw. I don't know you can see that or not. Can you see that? Can you see the diagram? Can you see?
It's
No.
hard to see. Hard to see.
Hard to see? So now it's better.
Oh my god. We can. I cannot see.
You can't see that?
I can.
No, normally I try to uh, draw the diagram. So it's optional. If you
Yes.
think you have enough time, actually, I can send you this diagram, but I don't want to send you this diagram because if I send it to you, all of you maybe copy and you paste and all gonna have the same kinds of work. So, but I'm just trying to tell you that you can draw a diagram for all elements and then you can explain them, right? But again, because that elements is giving, that diagram is giving complete picture, but in the diagram just a bullet points, quick bullet points, all right, and then you have enough time to write down then. But again, the problem is that your timing, because I think you have 2 hours, right? So
Teacher.
finish 40 minutes, one question. So I do not know if your writing speed is good enough to complete that theory question in 40 minutes. If you think your writing speed is very good, then of course you can draw a diagram and then you can explain it. All right, but if you think you because your BTech is all about doing assignments on computers, so maybe your writing speeds not really good, then 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 you have to spend 40 minutes just writing paragraphs and sentences, no time to draw the diagram. All right. So, but again, my suggestion for you is that before you go for exams, at least 1 or 2 times you try to write it. All right. You try to check that how long you are taking to complete the question. And then after time finish and you read the answer. All right. You think that answer is enough or you can do it better. The next time you improve it. Try to practice your writing question first, and uh, then you can check, can you improve your writing or not. Same thing with your calculations, try to calculate, not just sometimes we just simply look, we do not calculate, we understand, but when we close the book, when we close the solution and then we do that, we cannot find the way to do that. All right, so my suggestion is that keep your solution on the sides, don't look at the solution and you do that, and then check where are you having a difficulties, or you look at the solution first. You try to understand the solution. And once you understand, then keep your solution on the sides. Don't look at your solution. And then you calculate the question. And then check how long you are taking to do that. All right. But you're still taking enough 40 minutes. I think that's not enough because you already know the solution. All right. So you're supposed to take 50% less time, maybe 20 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes to do that. All right. So please try to practice several times before you go for your exam. All right. So any questions about managing working capital?
Teacher,
at the beginning of the lesson, you mentioned that bank overdraft. I'm listening your idea, but in the exam, how about when we list the element, we will mention about bank overdraft, but
Yes.
about high.
Okay. Yes. You can mention. Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned, but when we explain like inventory, account receivable, we don't explain more like that. We just list the element.
I can give you ideas of bank overdraft. I can tell you part A for bank overdraft, but again for part B we do not have a much information, but what I can tell you what you can do. So for part A, what is the cost of high bank overdraft? If you keep very high bank overdraft, what will be happen? The happen is your liability will be increased, which is not a good sign. All right. If you keep high bank overdraft, which is not good, because if you're keeping high bank overdraft, the cash outflow will be high. As a result, it will give a negative impact over working capital. All right. So that's why we should not keep a high bank overdraft. All right. Now, what are the costs if our bank overdraft are too low? All right. So we need to know that the example of bank overdraft is a commercial credit cards. Is one of the common example of the bank overdraft. So commercial credit cards, like as credit cards, means bank give us credit cards and we can use credit cards, but bank give us time period. If you return money back to bank within that time period, let's say 2 months, then we don't have to give any interest. So the idea is that make sure we should not avoid using bank overdraft. We should use bank overdraft, which means we should use a commercial credit cards, but make sure we make a payments of credit cards on time. If we are making a payments of commercial credit cards on time, which means we are borrowing money from bank, but we are not paying any interest, which is good. All right. So that's why we should use bank overdraft. All right. Okay. Now, how can we manage bank overdraft? So manage is make sure you track the payments of your bank overdraft. Then the time you are using a credit cards, you have to make a plan that today is the 1st of January. I am using my credit cards and my payments of credit cards, I have to return this money back to bank, let's say 10th of February. All right. So before I use this credit card, I have to estimate. I have to look at where gonna cash in before 10th of February. So from 10, let's say on 6th of February, one customer will return money back to me. Okay, I use that money to return back to bank for my bank overdraft or credit cards. So this is the way to managing bank overdraft. Find the way that how can I manage this money. So you have to track your cash in and cash outs. If you're tracking your cash in and out activities, you would be able to manage bank overdraft in a better way. And try to find the way to convert your negative balance. Okay, keep in your mind, I can, so bank overdraft not always means commercial credit cards, all right? But commercial credit card is example of bank overdraft. But in simple words, bank overdraft means negative cash, negative cash balance. If your cash balance is negative, that's become current liability. If your cash balance is positive, that becomes your current assets. Right? Cash balance negative means you have to pay. So when you use credit cards, so means you have to pay money back to the bank. So that's why your balance become a negative. This is the way to understand bank overdraft. So how can you explain it? Because your textbook, the textbook I sent it to you, did you receive textbook?
Yes, yes.
The working capital textbook? I don't know, chapter 11 or chapter 12, right? Right? Yes, chapter 11, sorry, chapter 11. So the textbook does not explain anything about part A and part B. All right, it doesn't talk much. It just tell what is the meaning of bank overdraft. All right, the meaning is a negative cash balance. But with the help of example of commercial credit cards, you can complete part A and part B, and that makes sense. All right, so you can attempt bank overdraft. Yes, if you have a 5 elements, then I suggest you please do it all 5 elements. Don't do it 4. Otherwise, your examiner will think that you did not attempt the last one. All right, so attempt 5. Attempt bank overdraft as well. I hope you understand part A and part B for bank overdraft. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you, teacher. But I have another point.
Yep.
Let's move on to inventory, and the sub idea here is about economic order quantity. As I saw you on your YouTube channel about this lesson, I see you draw something on the board. But the main idea here is that is it necessary for us to explain our idea and then we draw something like you to demonstrate more
You can
clear?
draw if you want. It's up to you. If you, that's what I said. If you have a time, you have to look. You have to make your own strategy to attempt the question. All right. Okay. I speak 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. If I'm talking 5 hours, it doesn't mean that you write everything what I'm talking in 5 hours. So whatever I am talking, you use it, you squeeze it in a one question that much more makes sense. But things must be very clear. So the idea is that you ask me that whether should I draw a graph or not. If you think you have a time, you can draw a graph. But don't do that. You're writing too much in inventory. But when you reach at bank overdraft, you're running out of time and you write only one sentence and then you finish. So you have to make a balance among all the elements. Don't write too much information in one element, but no any or less information in the another elements. Don't do that. All right. So that's why before you go for exam 1 or 2 times, you write looking at the clock without looking at your solution. You just try to do your discussion based question, and then you see can you able to make a balance among all elements within 40 minutes. If is, that's fine. All right. So you try to practice your question. All right. Is it clear?
Yeah, I'm all clear.
Okay.
Thank you, teacher.
Anybody? Any other questions?
Teacher.
Yep.
Yeah, I have another, but I think if we still have time now.
Yes, because we have 15 minutes. Yes, please ask me. Because
okay. Yeah, regarding ratio. Yeah, about account payable.
Yeah, accounts payable, payments
Yeah,
period.
I see your formula.
Yeah.
And also you mentioned on the YouTube. But do we need to write down exact here? But we replace the number to show it's like a realistic example. We have number to replace them.
Actually, I think from my point of view, this discussion based question is very long. Your part A and part B is very long. If in your exams they ask you only about part A, they don't ask you part B for all elements, then you can do that. But I afraid you don't have enough time to do that, because to be very honest, from my point of view, you have too much information in this working capital question. You have many things to write. You can write as much as you can. Maybe 1 hour is not enough for you to complete this question. So that's why you practice at home First,
Okay.
if you think, yes, I can finish my question in 30 minutes or 35 minutes, I have 5 minutes left, please don't add more information. At least keep 5 minutes left. So try to finish in 30 or 35 minutes. So 5 minutes to read your question again. So try to finish all discussion based question in 35 minutes. If you attempt two discussion based, for example. So try to finish your each question in 35. So 5 minutes, you have a look. Sometimes we make some spelling mistake or some minor grammatical mistakes. So make sure you check these. And sometimes when we are writing, in our minds is something else. When we write, is something else. We miss something because mind is work faster than the hands. So we are thinking so fast, but we are not writing so fast. So maybe we miss something, miss some sentence or miss some words. So please try to finish question before 40 minutes, and then 5 minutes find your mistake or fix your question. So practice at home. So 30 minutes, then you add 5 minutes examples and 5 minutes reading. All right. So that's my suggestion. But again, it's if you think you have a better strategies, no problem.
Okay, teacher, that's all I want to ask you. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
That's all.
Students, any other questions? So I received email from students regarding the solution for variance analysis. So I will have a look at the questions and solutions, because you're having a problem with the quantity, using a quantity in the formula of material or labor, hours, maybe quantity. So I will have a look at that question, right? So any other questions you have? Did you receive any exam information? Your exam is gonna be on time, or it will postpone, or what? Do you know anything? Did you get?
It's postponed to 20th of next month.
20th of April.
Yeah.
So it's 5 days, right? No, it's seven days, 1 week. Before it was on 15th, right?
It was on the 6th of April.
Before
But
6th of
then
April, but now 20th of April. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we have enough time to revise. But next week we will finish the last discussion-based question. All right. And after next week, then we will do some revisions. All right, revisions over variance analysis questions, revisions over constraint resources, mainly calculation-based question revisions, because theoretical informations you have. And another things you can do, once we finish your fourth question next week, then you can make your mind, make your plan that which 3 questions you want to attempt. You want to attempt two theoretical questions, or and 1 theory, or 2 theory, one calculations questions. All right. So you can make your mind. I can't say for me, if I would be a student, I prefer 2 calculation and 1 theory. All right. But again, it's your choice. So next week you will be able to make a decisions which two questions you want to attempt, calculation or theory. All right. So any other questions?
I have a question. I want to ask you about the profit variance in the previous lesson when you explained about the variance.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you that when we calculate the profit variance, you take the sales variance minus cost variance and overhead variance. And the sales variance is the variance between the total sale between the actual and the standard, right? So it's the variance between the total. So why we take that and minus the cost variance and overhead variance of a single unit?
You mean when we calculate sales, we use budget,
Yes.
but when we calculate cost variance, we use standard, right?
Yes, yes.
But you did not recognize one thing. In the formula, we also multiply by units. Did you see, did you remember the formula for each variance is like as material price variance? Actual price minus
Yeah.
standard price multiply by actual quantity. So we are not missing total quantities. But the reason to use standard is because it's indicate cost per units. But in our sales variance, we use the word budget because all the time we look at the revenues that will be calculated on the base of the total, which means the budget. But as a result, no matter if we are calculating sales variance or cost variance, in the both variances, we did not miss the total quantity. All right, so that's why no matter what cost variance formula we are using, in every formula we are multiplying by the quantity. So as a result, we have information about the total cost, including the quantity, not the cost per unit. All right, so our cost variance is not cost variance per units. Our sales variance is not sales variance per units. It's a total. All right, but the word standard indicate per units and budget indicates the total. So that's why when we use the per units, we are multiplying by number of quantities. But in the sales formula, we are not multiplying by number of quantity because we are indicating the budgets. So that's the reason. Wait, the battery will be finished. That's the reason we are using the standard in our formulas for cost. But yes, it's both are same. It's not cost variance is not um, per units or sales is not about total. All right, so that's why we calculate profit variance, which is the total. All right. So is it clear?
Because when we calculate the material cost variance, I saw that we didn't multiply the actual quantities,
We did not
but
did not multiply by actual quantity.
yes, we multiply the actual quantity direct material for each product, not the total number of the product.
We did it. I remember because if we are not multiplying by number of quantity, if we are not it's a part of formula. The formula for let's say material price variance is standard price minus actual price multiplied by actual quantity.
Yes, but when we calculate here, you write down after quantity is 7.85.
Yep, it's a quantity.
Yes, but that is for per unit, not for the total number of product has been produced or the sale product or the actual quantity.
It's a per unit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where it's the formula. I will have a look. But I don't know. Yes, I understand what you mean. I got it. Yeah, it's a actual quantity per unit. Mm. I will have a look with these things that why we did it, but again it should be a total quantity. It should be a total quantity, total
Yes.
actual quantity, right? Quantity that we are purchasing, because material price variance. I think we don't use it quantity for product quantity for production, because production is different than the purchasing. So that's why we are, maybe that's the reason. But anyway, I will have a look. I understand what you mean. I will have a look this one, and then
Yes.
I will reply. So can you please send me another email to remind me, because sometime I forget. So
Yes.
please send me email so that I will reply your email that why we are doing this and that. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other question? Any other question? So no questions. So can we stop now?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for your email because I have a lot of stuff about that, like the solution between you and our tutor. So it's,
So,
there are some differences between.
so
So
she give you the
think
same question. She had the same
uh,
question.
not really the same question that about um, a new example, but when I applied your method, your way to do the exam, it lead to like the wrong result with her. I
Mm-hmm.
think so. I'm waiting for your email.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I will check. I will have a look at why it's like this.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So and next week I will see whether I should make a video for your fourth discussion-based question, or I will directly conduct a Zoom session and I will record this session and I will teach you directly with this one. So I will see how we do that. If I will be able to make a video first, then I will make a video. Otherwise, directly I will teach you the last discussion-based question, and then I will also answer your question, because this session I'm also recording, so you can see these sessions too. All right. So because still we have enough time. So once we finish next week, and then we will practice more about variance and constraint resources. All right. So we stop now. So I'll see you next week. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you, teacher.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.